Everyone knows that the only way to become a better musician is to practice. But often we don't talk enough about what that means in practical terms. You go into the practice room, you've got your instrument, you've got a piece you're working on, you've got an exercise. What do you actually do? That's one of the themes that I want to follow through with this semester, and that's going to be something that we think about and talk about a lot. And today I want to at least start exploring some possible answers to that question. And in order to do that, I want to use a skill as a demonstration, a skill that we want to learn in this class. And that skill is the skill of reading music. Specifically, the skill of reading pitches in the treble and bass clef. Now, we've already learned sort of intellectually how to do that. We've learned where the pitches are on the treble clef. We've learned where the pitches are on the bass clef. But my guess is we don't feel entirely comfortable with that just yet. And we want to become comfortable and fluent with being able to read those pitches. Now, if you've ever taken an instrument, maybe in elementary school or middle school you took an instrument, or were in choir or something like that, you may have learned this little shortcut. The lines of the treble clef are E, G, B, D, and F. And there are all these little sort of phrases that we use, like every good boy does fine, to remember those lines. And then the spaces of the treble clef are F, A, C, and E. And they spell the word face. And a lot of people who are just starting out use this as a way to sort of remember what the lines and the spaces are on the treble clef, which is fine. But it's got a lot of steps to it. You first have to remember the phrase or remember the word, and then sort of count up how many lines there are. So it takes a long time. And the flaw is that music happens in real time. There's a beat, there's a pulse to the music, and if you get behind, you're going to fall off the train, and that's the last thing that we want. So we need to find sort of a different approach to figure out how can we do this in real time. And we're going to use a method that has been around for generations as a way to teach people to become more fluent sight readers. And I want to start by sort of simplifying our task. Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to worry about trying to memorize all of the lines and all of the spaces. We're just going to worry about memorizing two letter names, C and D. The C and the D that are closest, the C's and the D's that are closest to the treble clef. So that means that we have two C's. We have, right in the treble clef range, we have the C that is just below in that ledger line right there. And then we have the C that is up here on the third space. Now just take a look at those. Just take a look at those two note heads sitting there, just the picture that it makes. The C sitting on that ledger line right there. That just happens to be middle C. And then the C sitting on that space right there. Now we're going to add two more notes into the mix. We're going to add the two G's that are closest to the treble clef staff. So that means we're going to bring in the G that is on the second line, and we're going to bring in the G that's just above the treble clef staff, like that. So we have two C's and two G's. Those are the only four note heads, the only four lines and spaces that we're going to be worried about. Now, just because this is a little bit of a traditional way of doing it, we're not actually going to use the letter names, although we could use the letter names, and we might do that a little bit this semester as well. But we're going to bring those solfege syllables back. Remember the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, and do. And we can actually keep going here. Do, re, mi, fa, and we'll end up on that G, or the sol. Remember, these solfege syllables mean exactly the same thing in our context. They mean exactly the same thing as the letter names. So we're going to call this note head down here do, the middle C. We're also going to call the note head that is on the third space do. The note head that is on the second line we're going to call sol. And the note head that's sitting above the staff, on that space above the staff, we are also going to call sol. So now we just have 4 note heads that we're worried about: the do, the sol, the do, and the sol. In the next video, we're going to see how we're going to put this into use in the text that we're going to be using, a text that's been used for generations to torture music students, the Manual Pratique.